Hi everyone, welcome back to Chop's Garage. Let's update you on what it's been like real life car trading this week so far. So any of you been watching recently will know I've been buying cars like I own a chain of Bristol Street Motors or something. I've been buying way more motors than I should, but luckily a few have been shifting despite the fact that I haven't even had time to clean them, photograph them and advertise them. And that appears to be possible only because of loads of nice words of mouth, lots of recommendations, loads of you guys from the channel also coming through as subscribers buying cars. So got to thank everybody, loads and loads of people for the support. Another interesting thing as well is despite the fact I flatly refuse to pay anybody for websites and I just do basic ones myself, I have had some really good natural sort of search engine optimization. Apparently if you search in my local area, I now come up first as one of the car dealers in the area, and people have been coming to me saying they found me on Google as well, which isn't something I've gone out of my way to go and achieve. So we'll do a little, like I say, little update on what's been happening, what's been selling, and yeah, catch up because we had a really busy weekend. Went to the yard and have a look around and discuss which ones are sold. So firstly, the two that you might not expect to sell first, I mean a lot of people say that these cars don't sell for them, the two Cat N cars, they were the first cars to sell straight away after the last video came out. The Category N 2012 Toyota Yaris. One of our subscribers put a friend onto me for that, so massive thanks for that. I didn't get permission to give your name, so I won't. So yeah, massive thanks for that. He came out looking for a small car, tried the new Swifts that I've got in, then tried the Yaris and decided the Yaris was the better car. It was cheaper than the two Swifts and it was higher spec, it was the newer shape. So he loved it and he went for that, no problem at all. The only thing he wanted me to do is, obviously it's going to go down for a new MOT, so that's why it's not here, is that he wanted me to change the headlight out. Some of you noticed that it had a special edition white finished headlight on one side, and on the other side it didn't, where it had been replaced from the bump. So I've sourced one of those headlights and that's down being fitted with the Moors guys while I do the MOT, and then that car can be picked up. Now the other car that sold straight away was the Golf Estate. So that was another Category N car, but we had it in with the damage on it, wasn't it? And if you remember, it was just a dented wing and a broken windscreen. And we had a really close look, me and the buyer, around the rest of the car, the engine bay and so forth, looking at things like, did it have the original seam sealer on the inside of the wings? Were the headlights genuine headlights? Was there any chalk writing on any of the parts at the front to indicate that it had had some other damage done to it? Also, were the panel gaps bang on? But everything was spot on, so it genuinely appears that was written off for the broken windscreen and the dented wing. Now the person that bought that was actually the son of our subscriber who bought a Panda 4x4 the other day. His son was looking for a car and he put him on to me, suggested they come down and see what I had. The Golf was exactly the right size for him. Obviously from watching the channel, he knew all about its Cat N status. He took it for a test drive, agreed it was a really nice drive, just like the home built boys did when they tried it out. And yeah, so he put his deposit down on that. That's had to go down to Moors, obviously, to have the windscreen fitted, have its new MOT done. But I also folded and I'm having the cam belt fitted. I wasn't going to do that on that car because of the price point, but because it's our subscriber, going over and above a bit more. And the cam belt kit that came with the car is being fitted. We're also doing oil and filter services, so it's going to come out with a cam belt service, a new MOT, the new windscreen, and that'll be a cracking car for him. Now before we get into the other sales that happened this weekend, I do introduce the sponsor of today's video, a long-term supporter of Chop's Garage, Surfshark. Surfshark provides you with a VPN, a virtual private network. Your Surfshark VPN will provide you with a secure internet connection that prevents others from hacking into your data whilst you're online. As well as protecting your information while online, one of the great features of Surfshark is its ability to allow you to change the location of your IP address. Now that means you can access geo-locked content online. By that I mean movies, TV series that aren't available to you on streaming services like Netflix and Amazon Prime and so forth, based on the country you're in. Let me show an example of exactly what I mean. If I go onto my Netflix account here and search for some of the best Batman movies there were, the Dark Knight ones, I can't see any. They're not available to me because in the UK they do not allow you to see the Dark Knight movies on Netflix. But if I go up to my Surfshark just up here, and I change to a US based IP address, so I fool Netflix into thinking that I'm based in the US rather than the UK. That's now given me a US IP address, Surfshark has. And I now refresh this page. you'll find that I now have access to all those Dark Knight movies. The great news is, if you want to take out Surfshark, they have got an exclusive offer for Chops Garage viewers where you can get 3 months extra free. There's a link in the video description down below, and you just need to use the code that is on the screen now. I want to thank Surfshark for being a continued sponsor of Chops Garage. So what else sold over the weekend? Well, the Fabia did. We only just got the Fabia in, didn't we? I did an update on my Facebook page to say all the new stock that had come in, and a subscriber immediately jumped on and said, I'd like the Fabia. Now, the Fabia, I said in the video, didn't I? What I was going to do with the Fabia, like the Golf, is I was just going to sell it cheaply as it was because it had a long MOT, just get a safety check and do nothing more. Didn't quite pan out the way. A subscriber came along. I did offer them a lower price point, but they'd actually preferred to have a new MOT put on it, a brand new MOT put on it, which I think means we might have to do 4 tyres, depending on whether they did any tyres from the last MOT. We're going to change the resistor, heater resistor on it, to make sure that they've got all the fan blowing and all the settings. We're going to give the whole thing a machine polish because it's got a lot of light Devon rash on it. We're going to wet sand these scratches. I explained I wasn't going to spray this car at 1995. I wasn't going to spray it because silver never matches. You can't blend it. Well, the likes of Malcolm and Dave, you can blend it, but I can't blend it, and I can't afford to be paying them to do a panel at that price point. So I said, look, view it as it is now, and assume you're buying it like that, and then if it turns out any better, you'll be happy, won't you? I didn't want to overpromise on that. We've got to also wet clean the seats and the headliner because they're dirty, so we're going to end up doing a lot of work on it. And like I say, we don't know what the MOT is going to throw when we go for the MOT. Oh, plus we're going to do an oil and filter service on it. So I've gone from doing nothing to it to doing an awful lot. And at 1995, that could burn me quite badly. But what I want to do first is I want to take it for a long test drive because these 1.2s do have a habit of burning oil. This one was down, it wasn't at the minimum, it was above the minimum, but it looked like it used about 750 mil of oil since the last service. Now that was 8,000 miles ago and nearly a year ago. If it's burnt it in that period of time, I'm happy with that, based on the fact it's 130,000 mile 3-cylinder 1.2 that even the manufacturer allows a litre per 1,000. Before it gets that bad, they say it's still within tolerance. So we will do that before we throw too much money out, and then we're going to get that down to the boys and get that done as well. So that one sold. The other car that sold the weekend as well was the Clio 1 litre turbocharged Clio on a 2014. It was a blue colour. It's not here because I've just swapped it out with Malt for paint. Now that car was dirty. It had the dings and dents in the door, but they'd been recommended to come up here and see me. They tried a few cars out. They looked at the Suzuki Swifts as well again, and then they tried that because sorry, I didn't point out that the subscriber is having the Fabia for his lad as his first car. He tried a number of cars out. It was a tall lad, and the Fabia was the most comfortable for him. So even after trying the Swifts, he opted. So I think he tried sitting in the Swift. He also tried, the Nissan Note was the other car he tried, and he found the Fabia the most comfortable. So that's the nice thing about having a few different models around, is people can try them back to back. So they tried out a few cars, but they wanted something they could also get the dual carriageways on every now and then. And I said to them, the Clio, with the budget they had, the Clio was going to be the car that felt, the small car that felt the biggest, if that makes sense, or had the biggest car feel to it. They took the Clio out, loved it, came back, said they're going to think about it. An hour later, came back, said we're going to have it. We agreed what paint we we're going to do because it had a ding in the rear bumper and a ding on the door. So yeah, they bought that, like I say, pre-prep as well. And I've just been to Malcolm's and swapped it out for the Splash that we got. We got the Splash, didn't we, locally, with only 28,000 miles on it, but it was dinged on every corner. Well, Malk's been at it again. He's painted all the corners for me. We said we were going to make it look as best we could because of the mileage, rather than leave the dings and dents and sell it cheaply. We knew that we'd get a bit of a premium for the 28,000 miles, one owner. It's a local car, came from the local Suzuki dealership. So it is filthy now for me driving it back, but Malk's done a stellar job again at a very reasonable price. And now we can wash that, photograph and get it up for sale, he says, despite the fact he's got a raft of other cars that need to be washed and got up for sale. So yeah, the other car that sold, it didn't sell technically on the weekend, it sold early in the week, didn't it? Oh, it might have sold actually a little bit longer than that ago, was the Honda CR-V that our subscriber who had the Panda gave me in part exchange. That's due to go out any day now. It's just got to have a quick clean up after going down and having its MOT and bits and bobs done. And that is the subject of today's video, the lady that bought that car. So on this channel, you've seen, like I say, if you watch it regularly, you've seen me get burnt many times now with people part exchanging cars in, because as I say, in this game, unfortunately, no disrespect to anybody, the people you have to be the most cautious of is not other car dealers, but is in fact the people wanting to part exchange their cars, because people tend to part exchange cars when they've got a problem. They don't want to tell the dealer that it's got a problem because they know they're going to knock down on price, and they know that legally there's no recourse that they can get in trouble for if they part exchange a car with a problem. Although that said, if they do state something is spot on with the car and it turns out it isn't, then there is actually some legal recourse. But most dealers won't chase people down for it, and most people just keep stum about any problems on the car at all. And in those scenarios, like I say, I've never been told what the fault was. Now this is where this story is a little bit different. So the lady came to buy the Honda CR-V, and when she came along, she didn't have a car with her. She just came along, I think, with her mother to look at it, took it for a test drive, liked it, put the deposit down, wanted it, we agreed what work we were going to get done. Well, a couple of days later, she swung by to have another look, see how I'm getting on with things, see how the car was coming on. And she was in a BMW X3. And she said, oh, out of interest, what would you give me in part X for this? Because I was going to get rid of this anyway. And I looked it over, and it's a BMW X3. Again, if you've watched my channel regularly, you'll saw one of... Again, if you watch my channel regularly, you'll see, will have seen that one of the worst burns I got was a lady, probably about 70 years old, driving a BMW X3 that part exchanged it for a Fiat 500, very similar to the one I've got in there, when I was working down out of Alfa Ragazzi, and she told me it was all great. It was, you know, she just wanted a smaller car. She didn't need a big 4x4 anymore, and I just drove it around the yard, and it drove fine. And then our friend Petey bought it off me cheap, took it for a longer run, got up to 50 mile an hour, and the differential was whining like nothing on earth. And then we found paperwork from BMW to see that she'd been in there just a week or so earlier. So I lost quite a bit of money on that car. So when this lady pulled in on this X3, I said to her, I said, no disrespect to you, I said, but with these BMWs, in my experience, people part exchange them when they start to have gearbox or differential problems. I said to her, are you aware of any problems with it? She said, yeah. It's got a bad gearbox. She said it struggles to get into third. And I said to her, I said, look, I really appreciate your honesty. There's so many people would not have told me that, because as we know in this game, it is a bit one-sided. It's no problem dumping a car onto a dealer with a bad gearbox and saying nothing about it, but God forbid the car you bought a week or two later ends up with a wiper blade that needs replacing, because he would have definitely known that was due and he's totally stiffed you on it. I have to be honest, based on my experience in this game, whatever a car someone's putting in front of you is worth, a lot of the time you should only be offering scrap money when you find out how much the vehicle needs doing. I mean, the CR-V I did recently was bang on. Our subscribers that part exchange cars, they're normally absolutely bang on. But even that, as a cracking car, still needed 350s worth of work to get through its MOT. And that's not because our subscriber didn't tell me some fault with it, that's just because older cars, what older car do you get doesn't need 350 spending on an MOT. So I'm not talking about things like that, but I'm talking about some really fundamental problems. And that's why you get low part exchange offers, and until we get some recourse, until we get some protection that allows us to recoup money from cars that are misdescribed, then you're really not going to get any more for your cars. So that penalises people that are honest and bring in nice motors, unfortunately. But anyway, this lady was honest. She told me the score. I said to her, look, at the end of the day, the only people I consider fair game, to be perfectly honest, is We Buy Any Car. And we know that's because they are huge. They own BCA, they own Cinch. They can take these hits, your smaller dealers can't. I mean, if I'd taken that car in and needed to put a gearbox in it, it would have completely killed off the CR-V deal completely. I'd have made absolutely nothing out of it at all. So this video is a bit of a shout out to you honest buyers, and a massive thanks to all of you out there that actually don't think it's right to stiff people and want to treat others as they want to be treated themselves. And as you know, on this channel, when people leave with their cars, we do that with them as well. It's not a one-way door at this garage. If people are honest with us like that, we'll bend over backwards to help them out if they have problems with their cars later on. And I think if the car industry worked like that more as a whole, then things would be a lot better for everybody. Unfortunately, they haven't given dealers any protection, so until such time we're going to have to carry on assuming that every car that people are part exchanging is them offloading trouble. I'm sure there's new viewers to this channel. We're going to get into the comments and say we want it both ways. We want to get the part X for peanuts, and then we're going to sell the car for top money and end up putting nothing into it at all. I'd encourage you just to go back, Watch my previous videos, I share everything. I share spreadsheets to show exactly what kind of margins we truly make out of these cars, even when we mark them up £1,500. When we get them properly ready for retail and we look after people when there's problems with the cars later on, you'll be surprised how little there is actually made out of cars. I hasten to add, not saying that we don't make money out of cars, because people get onto my case about that. Of course we make money out of cars, that's how we're able to function as a business. What I'm just saying is we don't make quite as much money as you might think we make out of cars. Myself, I just count myself lucky to be able to do a job I love, because I get to play with cars all day long, and thanks to this channel I get to do business with some really lovely people as well. So again, massive thanks to you truthful buyers out there. Thanks for watching the channel, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.